Welcome back to the Boomer and Junior podcast, everybody. This is episode 3. My name's Boomer.
And I'm Junior.
Welcome back, everybody. We do have a little bit of a disclaimer. This is week 5 of the football season, and we've missed like 2 weeks because we've had some technical difficulties. We'll call it teething issues for the podcast, right? That's what we're going to chalk it up to. We've had audio issues, we've had video issues, things record, things didn't record, you name it, right? But we're trying a new platform out. We think we finally got something going. We think we finally got some motion, but I think we're going to try this out. Zachy, how we feeling this week, man?
Feeling good. Yeah, excited, hoping that all the recording stuff works out well. But in terms of football, I was in Vegas this past weekend with my dad, uncle, and cousin, and so we were able to watch every college football game. So that was great. That was a good kind of mental, wellness thing, be able to soak all that in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
How about you, Nick?
I'm doing great, pal. I caught a good chunk of football this past weekend. I was in Nashville with some old friends from college. First time in Nashville, first time taking that all in. And let's just say Boomer's not as young as he used to be. Boomer's not 21 anymore. Boomer needs his bedtime, and
Boomer's putting the boomer in his name.
Boomer's really getting up there. I'm gonna get a lot of heat from people I know because obviously I'm only 25, but man, I'm feeling old these days, pal. I'm feeling old. I can hang, but I also can't hang. I came back Sunday and it took me a day and a half to recover. On that wonderful note, let's get into last week's recap. I'm going to kick this off with the game that I watched really, really close. It was a real nail-biter, and it was number 8 Florida State going into Virginia, unranked Virginia, and taking the L. I think it was in double overtime, 38-46. Double overtime thriller, really. Turnover City by a lot. I think the stat we put down, it was 3 by each team. A lot of really, really good football on both sides. I think what was crazy is they had the students were lined up to rush the field a good 30 minutes before the game ended, and obviously that's because Virginia were up by a decent margin going into that fourth quarter, and then Florida State crazy storm back. Let's just point that out. I think the bigger thing to point out is this actual speed at which they rushed the field. Holy crap! That might be the the fastest field rush I've ever seen. My buddies and I were talking about it when we were in Nashville, and it was wild, dude.
Yeah, it was like moths to a flame. I mean, it was insane to see just the sea of fans just descend upon the field immediately. It was crazy.
It was nuts. Crazy game. Virginia takes the dub. Florida State, a little bit of a rocky bump in their road to the playoffs, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you, Nick. I really liked what I saw from Chandler Morris in this game, the Virginia quarterback. Pretty high completion percentage, went 26 of 35 in the air, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So those are maybe, not great. The 3 interception in particular, not stellar. However, he added 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground, 5 total touchdowns in the game. Yeah, this kid seems like him just, making plays that are needed to get his team the victory, and clearly that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, he was a dog, man. He was a dog in this game. Is Virginia going to make a deep play in the ACC in the playoffs? I don't know about that. We'll see. Call me.
You never know.
You never know. Maybe I'm just a hater. I don't know, pal. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so moving on from that huge upset on, I believe that was Friday night, we'll go to one that went maybe a little more as was expected, and that was number 1 Ohio State on the road at Washington, getting a 24-6 victory there. It was a little bit of a slow start for Ohio State. Oh man, I don't have the stat handy right now, and I just thought of it right now, but I saw this is the first time in a long time, if not ever, that the number 1 AP ranked team on the road against an unranked team was not a 10-point favorite going into the game. They were only 8.5-point favorites. And so with that, to be expected, not going to be a huge margin of victory, but Ohio State still, covering that spread, getting a double-digit win. But it was a slow start, though. That said, Julian Sain, their redshirt freshman quarterback, survived his first road test. Obviously offense wasn't anything crazy, only 24 points total for the team.
Yeah.
But he survived with the victory. So props to him for that. Props to Ohio State.
Dude, feels like it's late in the late in the season for like a first like road game. I'm not gonna lie, like that feels late. I'm not to be an OSU hater. I am an OSU hater, but like that's what is it? It's almost October, dude. Like what the
Yeah.
like? Let's talk about like that's wild, dude.
It is crazy, and I mean, I will say there's it isn't like it's his first like test. At least they did have Texas in the shoe
Yeah.
week one, but it's just different than when you're playing on the road, and in this case, traveling 2,000 plus miles across the country for your road game. It's a whole different environment, whole different experience with the road travel there.
Yeah.
But clearly didn't phase him, at least not that much. So
OSU gets the win. I'm not gonna lie, I saw that scoreline and I was like, I thought they were gonna be like, I thought they were gonna blow them out the water. Not to discredit Washington, they're doing okay, but like, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next game, we had number 11 Indiana at unranked Iowa, taking the dub 20-15. I thought like this was like I was not looking like themselves this year. I thought Indiana was gonna blow them out the water. And they won off in the last play of the game being that really, really, really dumb safety. I saw the clip of that and I was like, that was okay. I'm a big fan of like you gotta play till the end of the game, do what you gotta do. Like that's a really dumb way to end the game. Here we are, whatever. Indiana gets the dub by 5. I honestly thought like after the way they demolished Illinois that this was gonna be way worse. I thought they were going to throw it on 70 on Iowa or something. Granted, road game and all that fun stuff. But here they are. Take the dub.
yeah.
Good job, Indiana. I don't know why I keep
Yeah.
saying them.
I'm with you. I thought that it was going to be a bigger win. I didn't think it was going to be quite the 73-10 performance that they had the previous week, but I thought it was going to be maybe 49-17
maybe?
game, something like that maybe. But Iowa's defense maybe returning back to form a bit. It looks like keeping what we know is a high octane offense to just 20.
Yeah.
So props to the defense there, but obviously Iowa's offensive issues are far from resolved. Yeah, well, let's see how the season progresses for both those teams. But IU keeping their playoff hopes alive at the moment.
Interesting game.
Moving on, we've got what is my favorite drama-filled game of the week, and that was number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss. Ole Miss came out with the victory here, 24-19. Storyline going into this game, and we had some great coverage on this on our recorded episode that had some audio issues last week, unfortunately, but we'll get it to you posthumously here. And that is, before the game, I guess it was a little over a week ago at this point.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry Kiffin, announces she's dating LSU linebacker Whit Weeks.
Insane, man.
So, pretty big drama going into it. Interesting time to choose the hard launch on the Instagram with that. But, she chose to do it for a reason. And I told Nick and I told my dad, uncle, and cousin when we were in Vegas, I was like, Lane Kiffin is not going to lose this game. He's going to put LSU into the dirt for this.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite a beatdown, but they did get away with the win. One interesting note, this definitely was unrelated, however, it is kind of ironic, or coincidental perhaps, that Whit, Landry's boyfriend, did throw up in-game. There was a video of that going viral that he, you see that with athletes all the time, especially in football.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're just exerting your body so hard, throw up sometimes, and that is just kind of a funny coincidence, though, for this week.
That's really, dude, it makes you think like maybe Landry was playing like technically maybe she was playing into LSU for that game, dude. Trying to throw off Ole Miss, man. Like that'd be wild. That'd be wild to go against your own dad's team. Like that's wild. Yeah, man. Brian Kelly falls short in the big game once again. We'll see how LSU's season pans out. I think they're still really. The challenge is like Nussmeier's. Nussmeier's really. He's getting a little inconsistent. What's up, Zachy?
Mm-hmm. This is big for you. This was, I believe, your first Boomers Bold take was that LSU wasn't going to make the playoffs. So here's loss number 1. They're going to need at least one more, if not 2 more.
Just like how I drew it up, dude.
So
just
Boomers
like
Bold takes might be coming alive.
It's just like how I drew it up, dude. It's just like how I drew it up, man. But yeah, no, LSU goes down. What a week. What a game. Moving on, big one in terms of gap in the score. We had number 21 Notre Dame on the road at Arkansas, 56-13. Now, hear me out. Like going into this game, I thought there was gonna be a gap in terms of, like a decent gap in terms of like the score line. Holy cow, did they like drop a bomb on Arkansas, dude? Like I think the biggest news coming out of this is like the day after they won the game, lost the game, I should say. Sam Pittman fired out of Arkansas. He's out in Fayetteville. Irish get their first road win of the season. That's pretty big. Zach, you mentioned this earlier. Is it Petrino? Petrino's the
interim head coach. Former head coach of Arkansas.
Return of Petrino in Arkansas, so that'll be interesting to see how he shakes out in the rest of the season and see if he can salvage something. I mean, they're 2-3, right, on the season. So like, I don't know why they hit the panic button. There must be something else going on, but like, yeah, it's not like it was UCLA a couple weeks ago where it was like there was another big one that got fired, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Deshaun Foster got fired. We're gonna talk about that in a second here.
Yeah.
45-10 to New Mexico, which we did a whole detail on a previous episode, like we said, but we'll talk about it a little more in a second. But
yeah,
agreed. Yeah, it seemed a little abrupt. It seems a little odd with some of these mid-season coaching firings. I guess it makes sense maybe towards the end of the year.
Is it just me, or does that seem like it's new this season? Like that seems like it's happening a lot more frequently this season.
It seems more prevalent this year for sure.
Okay.
I mean, there's stuff like, as an MSU fan, we had the whole Mel Tucker debacle, but that was, I mean, he definitely wasn't performing great on the field, but it was due primarily to, unrelated reasons off the field. But yeah, this is like, the second fairly high-profile program that we've just talked about on this podcast that has done it so far this year.
SEC school, man. I mean, it's a big shakeup, right? I mean, they're not like obviously an SEC giant or anything, but like definitely a shakeup, right?
For sure.
Interesting one. Yeah, Irish get the dub, first road win of the season. Go Irish, let's move.
They're keeping their playoff hopes alive, getting a road win in
the SEC. Let's move.
Moving on to that other coach firing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
We can finally. I've been shared my thoughts on UCLA, and here we go, back to it. On the road at Northwestern, falling 14-17. Wildcats getting the W in their quaint little stadium by Lake Michigan that they've got temporarily going right now.
Yeah.
UCLA is officially 0-4 now, and frankly, I don't see them getting a win the rest of the year. They fired their head coach. There's some instability in the program there. I think they also fired their defensive coordinator and like another staffer. A lot of disarray on the coaching staff.
Dumpster fire, man.
Yeah, they lost the two most winnable games of their schedule, which were New Mexico at home, at Northwestern. I mean, I guess if you want to throw at UNLV in there too, maybe is like a more winnable game. At this point, I don't see another win on their schedule. Will they go winless? Maybe. I'm going to throw the stakes on. I can finally put this up. I've been saying this the last few weeks, but here we go. I have a UCLA shirt, or it's a shirt that's colored like UCLA with the blue and yellow. If UCLA gets a win, keyword if, not when, this season, I will wear that for the recording of the podcast in the following week. Because frankly, at this point, I don't think it's going to happen. If there was some type of a prop bet I could have placed when I was in Vegas saying under 0.5 wins for UCLA the rest of the year, I would have taken it. Because I just don't think it's happening.
That's a fun bet. I didn't know they lost. I'll be straight with you. I didn't pay attention to this game. Holy, 0-4 is wild. He's just tanking his draft stock right now. Like, we're talking free fall, man. Like, I will point out, Northwestern's, like, whatever, like, temporary stadium, really cool. Like, views are insane. It's giving high school stadium, but, like, the views are really cool.
Yeah.
Man, no, that's wild. I thought at least they'd break this against Northwestern. I thought they'd break the losing streak at Northwestern. But man, like holy shoot, dude! Like what the heck?
I
don't know what to say, man. Like that sucks. I guess we'll move on. To the next game. Massive game, biggest game of the weekend. Number 6 Oregon going into Happy Valley to play number 3 Penn State, and not only playing them, taking the win at a whiteout game, 30-24 in double overtime. I was watching this game up until like the third quarter. I saw that at the half it was like 3-3, and I was like, this is a disappointing scoreline. I was like, get it, two great defensive teams, right? Two great defenses, right? But I was like Drew Aller, like Drew, come on, like do something here, pal. Like give me something, right?
Come on, do something.
Give me something, right? Had some pretty good stats. Dante Moore, 29-39, 3 tutties, and 35 rush yards. But at the same time, like Oregon just, I mean, not in special call out, the guy who made the game-winning pick, Dylan Thieneman, former Purdue safety who went to Oregon to plant the final nail in the coffin for Penn State. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, there's two big things to call out from this game, right? I think one, let's call out Drew Aller. I was talking to my dad after this game happened just to catch up, and it's pretty apparent that he's going to be their strongest link, but also their weakest link, right? Like on their best day, he's going to be their champ. He's going to be their MVP. But on their worst day, he's going to be the reason why that they lost. They've got a great all-around team, but man, Drew's just got to find a way to he's got to find a way to fill those gaps. He's like this close to being so elite. He's really really elite, but like at the same time, like there's like small things he can fix. I think the second thing to call out is James Franklin.
Actually, really quickly, I want to hop on the Drew Aller conversation there real quick. I feel like you can compare it to like a baseball player having like trouble with the curve, like trouble hitting the curveball. Drew Aller, if he's got a clean pocket, great passer. He's got all the athletic tools to make pretty much any throw. In a vacuum, he's great. However, when there's pressure, which is going to happen in these higher levels of competition, he just seems panicked and he's just not able to get it done. And we've seen that time and time again. And early on in his career is understandable. As a freshman, sophomore, it seems like that's understandable. You're going to grow out of it, but he seems to really not be developing in that area. And at this point, he's kind of running out of time to do so.
Dude, I think he must be having flashbacks to the college semifinals from last year when he threw a pick with 40 seconds left, right? Like, it's those big moments, right, when he lets the pressure really get to him. And I mean, what separates that from a really great quarterback is like not like brushing off the pressure, right? Like, quite frankly, not to put it simply, but anyway. And I think the second thing to touch on from this game is James Franklin still can't win a big game against a ranked, like a top 10 team. He's 4-21. That's pretty big. I mean, he himself said it after the game. It's not a theme. It's a fact, right? Like I actually love James Franklin as a coach, but I mean, man, now it's got to a point where it's like, okay, they're about to go on a stint of really, really tough games in the Big Ten. Like, I saw their schedule and it's not pretty. And so, I mean, playoffs potentially in doubt. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, man. Penn State, I mean, they should have won this game purely from a home advantage, right? Like a whiteout game, dude. Like,
well, you would think Penn State has a reverse home field advantage. They are 0-4 in their last 4 whiteout games, which is mind-boggling to me. It kind of makes sense. He's got the skewed sample size because they do it for these large games, like having number 6 Oregon in town. But, they make such a big deal about it and stuff, and they just don't get it done, unfortunately, when it comes to these games.
Sucks, man. Yeah. It really sucks. You want to wrap us up on the last week recap, Zachy?
Yeah. Last really big one we got was the other featured night game of the weekend. That's number 17 Alabama at number 5 Georgia. Alabama getting the road win, which was stunning to me. I think thought after that Florida State game in week 1, I was like, okay, Alabama isn't like bad per se, but they're not going to be contending for the SEC championship at this point. And Georgia, I wasn't necessarily like super sold on, but they got that road win at Tennessee. I was like, yeah, sure, they seem good. They competed for the SEC championship at least.
Yeah.
But Kalen DeBoer getting a huge statement win, which frankly he hasn't really done at Alabama yet. At least last year they were kind of faltering a bit and stuff. But this was huge though. Kirby Smart is now 1-7 also against Alabama. And, when you consider that most of those are against, arguably the greatest college football coach of all time, kind of fair, understandable. But seems like Alabama's really got his number for sure.
Yeah, Georgia gives me the vibe that they might start, like this specific Georgia team gives me the vibe that they're going to start the season slow, but the second those gears start clicking, the second they start building that team momentum, that train is gonna move, dude. Like,
would you say that they're gonna accelerate above the speed limit?
I would indeed say they would accelerate Zachy. Oh, I got the reference, and I'm really kicking myself
For
now.
those who aren't aware, Georgia's having like an average of like 3 or plus players get speeding tickets or whatever, or reckless
It's
driving
bad.
charges during the off season over the last like 3 years. So that's what I'm referring
It's
to there.
not pretty to say the least. It took me a second. I was like, "Where is he going with that?" That's funny, man. No, yeah, I think once they get that momentum going, I think they could really make. I think they could make a deep run in the SEC and also just the playoffs, man. And so, good
Yeah.
game. Go, Kalen DeBoer. Good job.
I've got a few players I want to talk about here briefly
All right.
too from the Alabama side of the ball. First of all, Jeremy Bernard, former Michigan State player, then transferred to Washington, and then transferred from Washington with DeBoer to Alabama.
Oh,
He's looking great. We saw the flashes at Michigan State when he was a freshman, even though he had kind of limited time. But he has really grown and developed into a great player. Looking forward to seeing him play on Sundays.
shit.
Next is counterpart on the wide receiver trio, Ryan Williams, who was kind of him and Jeremiah Smith were kind of 1A 1B last year in terms of these
Oh,
stellar
yeah.
wide receivers who are the best in the country even as true freshmen. Interesting stat I saw though, Ryan Williams has 12 drops, and this was partway through the game Alabama and Georgia this past weekend, since the beginning of his career at Alabama, which is the most of any SEC wide receiver since he started there. So while he's making some of these highlight catches and stuff and putting up some big numbers at times,
Yeah.
maybe some concerns long term for Williams. I think he can work through these and stuff, but kind of something interesting to keep an eye on. He might be one of those prospects that we see as like this guy's gonna be great, but maybe he fizzles and doesn't pan out quite in the league. And then finally, Bama's quarterback Ty Simpson, who frankly I didn't know going into the season who Bama's quarterback was going to be. Just wasn't really caring about the QB race that much. I hadn't been following it. He's playing great though. Just eye test wise, watching him play against Georgia, he put up a great stat line: 24 of 38, 276 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he just looked like he was just there. He was doing the thing. I don't know if I would say he's like a superstar per se, but I would say pretty much any team in the country would be lucky to have him at quarterback. So shout out to Ty Simpson. Phenomenal game on Saturday.
Go Ty. Good stuff. No, I didn't watch this game, but I mean, yeah, no. Not surprised Alabama's got a dog and a QB. Not surprised. All right.
All right. Yeah, moving on. We're on
Let's
to
go.
our next segment. We got Boomer's bold take of the week. We saw one coming true a little bit. LSU getting that loss. They may end up missing the playoffs. So you've been dishing some hot takes like that might be coming true. So give us your take for this week, Boomer. What's your bold take?
It's all part of the plan. It's just like how we drew it up. I said this before. I'll say it again. Now I'm really throwing arrows at people that I truly love and care about. Penn State, my brother's team, did not speak nicely about them. And this next one, I'm going after a team that my best friend from high school, Jack, roots for. I love you, buddy, but I think USC's golden era of football is behind them. And I also, to add on top of that, I think Lincoln Riley is not a good head coach, at least not anymore. I think there's just this inherent feeling that Lincoln Riley just can't quite figure it out over at USC, man. They're supposed to win against Illinois on the road this past weekend. Granted, you can make the argument that they went through 3 weeks of brutal travel, right? West Lafayette back to Los Angeles for the earliest kickoff time, or was it? No, it was the latest. It was the latest kickoff time in college football. Then back out to basically West Lafayette, but it's Champaign, right?
But that was for the earliest kickoff time in football.
Earliest kickoff time, right? So don't get me wrong. You can totally make an argument, but at the same time, yeah, you're supposed to win that game for USC, especially after how Illinois basically, crapped the bed against Indiana, right? And so, I mean, USC, obviously they were ranked last week, field rush and all that stuff. I got my own thoughts on that. But I think USC, they should be doing a lot better than they are this year. I mean, obviously they're not as bad as their, neighbors across the street in UCLA, but
That's right.
I think their golden era is behind them, unless Lincoln Riley can somehow magically pull something out of his butt. But and the other part of that, I think my part two for my Boomer bold take of the week is I think Lincoln Riley you can make an argument that his last good quarterback was Caleb Williams. I would disagree, but I think It's been a while since he's had an all-star
Ooh,
team. That's a bold
there's
take.
a
I know.
hot take.
I know. That's a bold take.
Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, not a good quarterback.
I don't think he's a quarterback. That's my own take. Let's move. You can't come at me, man. You can't come at me. I think USC's golden era of football is behind them. And I think I'm not the only one talking about that. I don't think I've heard that from other people in the like just in the sports world, man. And so yeah, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean
much
that Lincoln Riley hire at the time seemed promising. You know, he'd done some good things at Oklahoma, but it was kind of mainly because he had these Heisman winner, Heisman finalist quarterbacks and stuff along the way. And that was kind of in the era. Oklahoma was in the Big 12 at that time. That was kind of in the era of the Big 12 where they didn't really play defense, and he was just the best at offense of all the other schools.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, this is fair. Is there, going to, stepping. I don't want
He
to
was
say
supposed to have all this money from USC, and he was supposed to have unlimited resources with the NIL transfer era taking off. Like, he was supposed to make USC a juggernaut, right? And they have not been close to that. Like, they've not been close to that. I think this might be his. No, I take that back. I was gonna say this might be his best year so far at USC, but no, he had a good year with Caleb in their first year at USC. Caleb's Heisman year, I should say. But yeah, Boomer's bold take. USC, you're past your prime, dude. Past your prime, man. You're all washed up. All right. Moving into our next segment. Junior's Jumbo Stat of the Week. What do you got, pal? What's the number this week?
Number for this week is 111. And that is Florida State's win percentage in the ACC since the start of 2024.
Jesus. Okay.
1-8 in that time frame against ACC opponents.
Yeah.
They got one win last year. I don't recall who the opponent was, but they did get one win in conference last year. However, dropped all the rest of their conference games and dropped their first one this year on the road at Virginia.
Yeah.
Now, I do think Florida State is a much better team this year. They've got a lot better quarterback under center at the minimum, and that's going to impact things a lot.
Yeah.
And so, I think they'll obviously at least get to a bowl game, if not, a good bowl game. Or the playoffs even potentially. I don't think the playoffs are going to happen at this point, but we'll see on that.
That's the take.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about. Florida State's just all over the place. They're up in 2023, getting snubbed from the playoffs, should have been in, to last year just down in the dumps. This year we thought they were maybe back and up, but maybe they're kind of going to a middle ground sort of where they're kind of maybe in a 9-3, 8-4 range, something like that. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, just interesting number to think about though, is FSU was ranked in the top 10, that they maybe aren't doing so well against conference play and Power 4 opponents. So.
Yeah, man. Norvell's got his work cut out for him. Granted, like last year obviously was a really bad year for them. Really, like that's an outlier year in my opinion. I think they're gonna bounce back well. They already look like they're playing way better off football. But yeah, I mean that's not a pretty number. That's not a pretty number to say the least. I mean. Playoff impact games of the week. I'm gonna kick this puppy off. I got for my first pick number 3 Miami at number 18 Florida State. We just talked about the Seminoles, but this is gonna be a really really big game. Obviously Miami's rocking this year. I mean that train doesn't seem like it's gonna stop anytime soon. And Florida State, as we just talked about, hot and cold, right? A little hot and cold, right? Man, I want nothing. I've said this week after week. Well, on the weeks that we couldn't record, I said that I want Miami to lose, and I stand by that. I think I would love to see nothing more than an FSU home win here. I'd love to see a wrench in Miami's potential playoff plans here. Should be a big game. Two top 20 teams. Should be a big game.
Yeah, this is huge for playoff implications. I mean, Miami can all but seal themselves a bid, assuming they don't completely fall apart the rest of the year, whether that's the ACC auto bid or an at-large bid. Meanwhile, Florida State would be approaching elimination if they take a loss here.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not to say they can't maybe make something work. It depends a lot on how other teams do the rest of the year. But yeah, definitely a big one to kind of either seal a team in or seal a team out of the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Clemson, like, they looked like they were down and out last year, but they won at the ACC and made it into the playoffs, right? Like,
yeah.
Crazy things have happened. Crazy things have happened in the recent past. I mean, who knows, dude?
Yeah, for sure.
Who knows, man?
Moving on to our next game, we've got number 16 Vanderbilt at number 10 Alabama. This one's going to be interesting. Alabama, rough start, obviously loss at Florida State. However, redeeming themselves with a win at Georgia this past week. I believe it was last year they had that shocking upset to Vanderbilt, and that was at Vandy, so they had the home field advantage there.
It might have been
However, at this point, though,
Saban's
we know
last.
that Vanderbilt. Oh, go ahead.
It might have been Saban's last year. Yeah, it might have been
Mhm.
Saban's last year. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Regardless, now we know Vanderbilt is not a flash in the pan. They are the real deal. They've been putting up some good numbers against other teams and stuff. Not to say that they will win necessarily, but they could. Also for Vanderbilt, you've got Diego Pavia. I can't stand the kid, but I love that I can't stand him. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
All this crazy stuff, all this talk online, and
Yeah, man.
giving Theo Vaughn a date with his mom if they, won whatever game it was a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah. It was
all
wild.
this crazy stuff.
It was wild, man. I'm not. I might be. This just might be on the theme of Boomer having bold takes, but like I'm not sold on Vandy. I think I don't know if they're the real deal. Like, yeah, I think their QB's respectfully full of crap, and then
But he is.
I think he's full of crap. I think Bama's gonna take this one comfortably.
Yeah, I do think Bama. I mean, Bama's just got a level. Bama seems like they have that level of discipline return to them that they had under Saban that maybe really wasn't quite there last year.
Coming back.
And so I
Coming
do
back.
think they are probably going to take this one. But I guess you got to look at Vanderbilt relative to where they were. It's kind of like Indiana in the Big Ten, but to a lesser extent. Both were kind of, not to be rude, but kind of laughing stocks of their conferences for a handful of years at
Vandy
least.
for sure. Vandy for
And-
sure.
Yeah, and now they're both, looking pretty solid. So Vanderbilt has at least cemented themselves as at least somewhat of a threat potentially. You can't just
I like somewhat.
walk through the game.
I like somewhat of a threat. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't hate on them. I think they're undefeated right now, right? And so like you can't knock that. You can't knock that. And so, yeah, man. Our next and last game for playoff impact games of the week is Boise State at number 21 Notre Dame. Boise State obviously not looking like the same as they were last year, losing Ashton Genty, going into South Bend, facing a hungry Notre Dame team that's like they've got the mentality that they got to win out everything to have a chance at the playoffs, right? So this is an interesting in terms of playoff impact games because if Notre Dame drops the ball in this one somehow, right, they're done. They're done. Playoffs out. It's known. It's given. It's going to come down to how Notre Dame's defense plays, right? It's going to come down to that defense. We've talked about this, and it's going to come down to if Marcus Freeman can really rally the troops.
Yeah.
Boise State could be a sneaker. We'll see, man. They obviously dropped the first game against USF, but they've bounced back, and we'll see.
The lowest points scored in a game since that USF game is 47 points. They've
Wild.
put up anywhere between 47 and I think 57 points in
Scary.
the last 3 games they've played. So, like you said, I think the key thing is going to be how Notre Dame's defense fares against that Boise State offense because we know Notre Dame can put up points. And this past week they showed signs on defense of holding Arkansas down a bit. But I think this is going to be a matchup that maybe other people aren't talking about as much. But could be a really exciting game and B huge impact game for Notre Dame. Conversely, for Boise State, they win this game, they put themselves back on the map. If they win out and get to the conference championship and win that, there's a very real chance that they're the highest ranked non-Power 4 team and get an auto bid again. So we'll see what happens there. They're not the same team they were last year without Genty, but they
I wasn't even looking at this game until you brought it up. I wasn't even we shouldn't even talk about this game. But you bring up a good point. Notre Dame's got to do everything in their power to stop the ball, man. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, last segment, Boomer Junior Blitz. And my first pick for this week is number 9 versus Florida in the Swamp. And number 9, Texas. I'm going with Texas. I'm riding with them. I initially thought Florida, when I was going through this, I was like, maybe Florida upsets them. I was like, I just think Texas is flowing just a little bit better than Florida is at the moment. Arch is big. I think it's his first big SEC matchup. And yeah, we'll see. At least as a starter. And so I'm calling number Texas to win by 6.5 at least.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. I think that line sounds about right because it is in the Swamp, and Florida has been looking pretty rough this year. However, Texas hasn't been having large margins against remotely competent teams.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this will be an interesting one to see. I agree. I think Texas is definitely going to walk away with a win in this one. But, yeah, what the margin exactly is, though, will be interesting to see.
Yeah, anywhere between 1 and 2 scores, I'm calling. Anywhere between 1 and 2 scores, I think. Yeah.
Sounds about right, yeah. So, all right, yeah, moving on to our next game. We got unranked Kentucky at number 12, Georgia. Kentucky got thrashed by South Carolina this past weekend. Meanwhile, Georgia did come up short at home to Alabama. So neither team coming off of a win, not a lot of momentum from either side. However, I do like Georgia to cover minus 20.5. You may be thinking, wow, that's a big number for a team that just lost at home. However, Kentucky almost lost at home to Toledo in week 1. It was like 24-16 final score.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia is going to be ticked off about taking that loss and wanting to flex their muscles and remind the world who they are. I think they're going to put Kentucky in the ground. I don't think it's going to be much more than that 20.5 necessarily. I just don't think an SEC conference game is super conducive to that per se. But I do think they are going to cover that margin.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair call, man. I think it's a fair call. Georgia's rolling, man. Like I said, they finally got that momentum they're looking for. They're gonna want to make a dominant run in the SEC. I like that pick. My next pick is number 22 Illinois going into West Lafayette to play the Purdue Boilermakers. Now the line's at 9.5, and hear me out. I'm definitely a little biased in this game. I definitely am, but I'm calling Purdue for the win here. I'm calling Purdue to upset the Illini.
For the win, not just to cover, for the win.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're gonna win. Well, here's the thing. You've got an Illini team that's looking shaky. Granted, they just beat USC at home. That's very fair. However, they're not looking to be as consistent. They're not looking like the number 9 team they were 2 weeks ago. All right. And if there's anything Purdue's good at, it's being the Spoilermakers. All right. They're finally looking like they've got something going. All right. And when they're at their best, they can make some really good moves on both sides of the ball. And so I'm actually calling Purdue to win this one. And so, yeah, if I were you guys, I'd take the underdog on this one.
I don't hate this one,
Yeah.
what you're saying there. Purdue, West Lafayette, Ross-Ade Stadium, kind of the twilight zone for football teams, ranked football teams.
Man.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I'd like to see this one. I think this is going to be a higher-end scoring game, like maybe both teams are in the 30s type of a thing.
Yeah.
And while I may not be as convinced that Purdue's going to get the W, 9.5 seems like a fairly large number for a road game. I think that seems fair for Purdue, yeah.
Yeah, big guy.
Moving on next, we were talking about this earlier in our playoff impact games of the week, but we got Boise State at number 21 Notre Dame. And I like Boise to cover in this game. To me, that seems like a large number. Granted, Notre Dame did look just like a world beater, dominant team this past weekend against Arkansas. However, Arkansas, maybe, I don't think they're that great of a football program. Notre Dame's, other than that game, shown a lot of concerns about their defense so far this year, I would say.
Yeah.
And Boise State, I like, what they've been doing on offense, putting up a lot of points, granted against lesser opponents. However, still putting up those numbers, though. I think that Notre Dame's going to take the win, especially at home in South Bend. However, I do like Boise to cover here. That 20.5 is just a big number.
Okay.
I'm seeing like a 14-point win for the Irish here.
Okay. All right. Go Irish. My last pick for the week, my last game pick for the week is number 14 Iowa State at Cincinnati. Now, I picked this one because what surprised me is the spread's only minus 1.5 to Cincinnati at home. And I was surprised because Iowa State's ranked, they're rocking with Rocco backed, all right? And to be underdogs in Cincinnati was a little surprising. I know technically Cincinnati's the favorites to win, but in my mind, that's an upset, all right? I think based on how Iowa State's playing, I'm actually gonna call upset here. I think Cincy might take the win here. It's gonna be interesting. I think Becht is going to put up some good numbers, but I think Cincinnati, just being at home, might have the advantage.
Yeah, Iowa State seems kind of fitting in with the theme of the Big 12 last year of kind of the entire conference cannibalizing themselves. Yeah. They seem like they're going to have some good wins at times, but also maybe not be that great on the road against, maybe some sneaky good opponents, which I think Cincy definitely can be this year.
Yeah.
For my final pick, and for our last pick in total for the Boomer Junior Blitz of the week, we got Washington at Maryland. Washington falling 24-6 this past week to Ohio State. looked decent at times in that game. Wasn't able to see the entire game. I was more focused on some other games in that slot. But the parts that I watched, Washington looked, pretty solid for a team playing the number one team in the country. And I like them to cover the 6.5 at Maryland, the -6.5.
Yeah.
Maryland is looking solid. I saw their quarterback is rated as the number one performing freshman in the country right now, which is kind of crazy.
All right.
So Maryland is nobody to just kind of think, oh, you're gonna blow by them or whatever. However, Washington with Jed Fish, I think they're gonna maybe take some lessons learned from this past week, go on the road across the country, and get that win at Maryland by 7 or more.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. Maybe a long haul from Washington all the way out to the East Coast, but yeah, I like that pick, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that concludes us for our Boomer Junior Blitz and for our episode this week. Thanks for bearing with us again, like we talked about with our technical difficulties before for the last couple weeks, not getting those episodes out. But yeah, hope you appreciated this one and maybe some of the shorts content that we've been putting out in the meantime. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate, follow, whatever on YouTube and Spotify. Appreciate the watches there and everything. As well as if you got any questions and feedback for us, feel free to email us at officialboomerandjunior@gmail.com. We'll have that posted down below too. We've got some things in mind, we're figuring out this software. We think the video quality is going to be better for this week, hopefully, and getting some audio issues resolved. So hopefully that's all better going forward. And lastly, make sure to follow us on social media. We got Instagram, TikTok. We're posting stuff on YouTube Shorts. These are a lot of bonus content stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of reactions we're making throughout the week and kind of funny things going on there.
Yeah.
We actually just hit a big milestone. We've had a couple of TikToks blow up. We just hit 10,000 total likes on our TikTok account. So clearly some of the people are liking some of the content we're putting out. So make sure to go check that out for some other funny stuff. Also working on getting a Facebook page going. I know we've got some listeners who are wanting to see stuff through there, so we're going to get that up and going as well soon here too.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks very much for listening, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And
Bye, everybody.